Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate having you guys on. And a special thank you to all of you guys. We saw that Pete from 11 Yanks put out a video. Thank you as well, Pete, for all of the help throughout our journey. And it was a bit similar to a segment that we have, and we saw a lot of you guys commenting there. So thank you for the support as always. And today, bringing to you guys, finally, I kind of missed this, even though last time it wasn't too nice, but the USMNT is playing against Panama this Saturday. Brandon's going to be in the stadium as well. Again, I'm sure he's going to plug that in. And we're going to take Panama in the Q2, Braden. So we're going to be diving in straight to the point, the probable lineups, and the players that you would like to see us experiment in this match. Because let's be honest, Mexico is the actual big game this window.
Yeah, I feel like Pochettino is probably gonna go for mainly a first choice team because we know how much he likes running, right? I think he's gonna expect a lot out of the players in this first camp, and I think that's gonna mean most, if not all of the starters play both games. That's not exactly what I would want to see. I hope at least that he tests out as many players as possible because since this is his first camp, he doesn't really know many of them. I mean, we saw that by the roster selections. He basically just called up the guys who've been with the group in the past. So I hope he gets as good of a look as possible at all of them. I'll just go by position by position. In goal, I think Schulte's going to start. I will also want Schulte to start, but based on what we saw in the last camp, I think Pochettino was actually watching those games, and if that form remains throughout the training sessions, it's going to be Schulte. He's by far the best of the group. I just hope we don't see Zach Steffen in either of the games because he's probably the worst goalkeeper in MLS and somehow got a call up. But as long as we don't see him, I'm kind of fine with it. Schulte is the no-brainer for both games. I feel like the situation here is you give him the start against Panama, the inferior opponent, in theory at least, and if he performs well, you start him against Mexico as well. But we're going to have to see what happens there. At right back, I would start, well, I guess for both fullbacks, I'd start Fossey and Lund. I think it's going to be Scally and Jedi, especially since in the defense, they usually are more prone to playing the full 90s, playing games back-to-back, just being very consistent in basically any international camp, tournaments, friendlies, whatever. It's probably going to be the same for the fullbacks, but I'd like to see the backups get a chance because I think they both were pretty solid in the last camp. For the center backs, it's kind of difficult because there's no good ones really. Chris Richards is out injured. I'd like to see Mackenzie start alongside, I don't even know, Tim Ream maybe. Maybe save Tim Boone for Mexico. Honestly, play Miles Robinson at right center back because I think Trusty's a left center back, McKenzie's a left center back, Ream's a left center back. Robinson ain't great, but from what we've seen from Trusty so far at Celtic, I'd actually rather have Miles based on the form he's in. And I mean, at least he's young and not ancient like Ream. So I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws here. We don't have any good options there. For the midfield, I'd like to see Aiden Morris get a chance alongside Busio, and at the 10, I'd like to see Brendan Aronson. What I think it will be, I think Aiden Morris will start alongside McKennie, and I think the 10 will be Malik Tillman. On the wings, I actually think Aronson might play on the wings just because we have no options. I'd like to see him in the midfield because that's his natural position. I think Poch is going to really like him. I think he's going to get on the pitch in both games regardless of the positioning, but I think he'll be out wide. And then on the other one, obviously, it's Pulisic. No-brainer there. Up top is probably the most interesting one because Balogun did get hurt. We have Sargent, we have Pepe, we have Brandon Vasquez. Hopefully Vasquez doesn't play at all. I just don't think he's at the level of the other two. I would like to see Sargent start this game. If you're going to start one of them in each, which I think makes the most sense since they both deserve the opportunity to battle it out for that spot, I would start Pepe against Mexico, give him a little revenge game since we know he's of Mexican heritage. That's also kind of the theme of the camp, what they're going for from a marketing perspective. So I think it'd be nice to give him that opportunity. So I'd like to see Sargent start. But at the end of the day, we're not going to know the lineup or who Poch prefers until it comes out. So I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, although I think that going forward, he's probably not going to rotate too much. I just think he doesn't have enough time really in hands to keep trying things. I feel like this one game, he might rotate a bit, and I actually think that in the back four, I would go with Miles and Mackenzie. Same thing as you went with. I don't think, honestly, Trusty. I mean, I want the guy to be good, but I don't think that the confidence is probably there to be thrown in Poch's first camp. I also don't think that in training he may have shown anything more than those two. I mean, Miles has been around for a while, and like you said, it's not. We can't really blame the selection of the players like Brennan Vasquez and Dejas on Poch because he just got at the helm, so he clearly doesn't have that much knowledge on the player pool, and that's okay. I mean, he just got the job, so I think also because of that recency bias with the staff and what he has seen, who has more experience with the national team, Miles will probably start on the midfield. I think this one's kind of up for grabs, but I think it will be Adam Morris and McKinney. I think it has to be McKinney at the 8. It's basically what we've been going with. At the 10, I'm curious if we play with a 4-2-3-1. I think it will be Tillman, and I think that in the wings it will be Pulisic and Brandon Aronson. Up top, I think it would be Sargent for some reason, even though I know that the whole marketing spiel is around Hispanic Heritage Month, and not to say that Pepe doesn't deserve it, but I would like to see Sargent play this match and see Pepe play against Mexico in the Azteca. I think that would hold more value as well, in my opinion. I think this game would be suited well for Sargent, who hasn't had a look in such a long time. The guy keeps getting injured. And I really hope that's the midfield, and we got it spot on. If we see Musa starting, I think I would rather experiment, just to put it right here, I'd rather experiment with Buzio, who funnily enough was in that Gold Cup match against Panama. Hope he forgot that game. That was not a good game at all, but things have changed a lot. And it brings us to the point where I just want to make a point here. I don't think that Panama and Mexico are that much different. Obviously, the hype, the weight that the game holds, it's the El Clasico here. So Mexico means a little bit more, but Panama, in my opinion, especially with their coaching staff, they may hold a bigger threat to the U.S. than Mexico. What do you think? And I mean, we know the usual suspects, but anything you want to highlight about our opponents?
Yeah, I mean, when I said that Panama was the inferior opponent, that's not any slight on them. I do think, like you said, I think I said it even back when Copa America was going on before that, before the tournament even started. I do think they are better than Mexico. Although what I will say is I like what Mexico are doing. They're bringing back some of the veterans that they left off of their Copa America team for some reason that are in really good form, like Raul Jimenez, Ochoa as well is coming back. They're also bringing in some top prospects, and I mean overall I really like what they're doing from their roster. Obed Vargas as well, the dual national that just made the switch, made his first Mexico team, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets any minutes against us. And just the fact that the game is in Mexico at the Estadio Akron, not the Azteca, I think that just holds more weight. The rivalry game in Mexico, it's the more important one realistically. If we lose to Panama, it's just a friendly. If we lose to Mexico, it's never a friendly because it's a rivalry. So that's kind of just how I see things, the weight of the games. For the opponent, like you said, I mean, Panama are so good. I think on the pitch quality, I mean, we saw it in the Copa America when they beat us. I mean, I think it's funny you mentioned the Gold Cup because all the guys from Copa America will remember a horrible game against Panama. So will Bucio from the Gold Cup. So they're all on a level playing field here. Not necessarily the best of situations, but it is what it is. They did get absolutely spanked by Colombia after making it out of the group, but we would have done the same thing. We already did in the friendly before. I think it's very reasonable to say, especially with all of our incredible injury list, that basically, I mean, if you put together an injured team for the USMNT, it probably beats the team we have in camp right now. So, I mean, if you take out Pulisic, because he's basically the only good player we have, if we look at it objectively. But I think it's going to be a really tough game. I wouldn't be surprised if they give us a lot more trouble than we think. And although I will say I want to see a mentality from the guys. I think we've already seen the training session clips. There's a lot more intensity, desire. They're actually taking it seriously, and we should be out for revenge. This is the team that embarrassed us at home, gave us one of the worst moments in the program's history. So I want to see a mentality to go out there, show no mercy, and get our respect back.
Absolutely, and I just forgot to mention the players I would like to see. I know we both picked him to start, but I think players like Morris, maybe Tessman, if he gets thrown around, these guys they weren't involved in that experience. So I think that just revamping that midfield from that, it helps with the mentality as well to start the cycle with some new players there, because I think that we left a lot to be desired, and that's what I completely agree with you. I want to see the attitude, and we saw some of the interviews, some guys saying that it's all the staff keeps mentioning it's all about winning and taking things more serious. We don't see them smiling or anything. I hope that we really see that. I'm very pessimistic on our USMNT these days, so hopefully we see a change in that and see a complete shift. And that brings us to the final point where I would like to ask the viewers as well, what are your thoughts on the predictions? I'm going to ask Braden now. Score line predictions and who scores in your opinion. Honestly, this one I'm very interested to see.
Yeah, I don't like predicting us to win because it seems like whenever that happens, we get embarrassed. Although, to be fair, it seems like we get embarrassed regardless of what I predict, for the most part, especially this summer. This is a tough one. I mean, half of our team is injured. Panama are a very, very good opponent. It's Poch's first game, so there's going to be a little bit of rust there. I mean, he hasn't had a lot of time to implement all of the things he's going to want to implement. It's basically just a tryout for the players. I will emphasize for this game in particular, I care more about the performance than the result. Against Mexico, we have to go for the result because pride's on the line. I mean, at the end of the day, performance is there still. I wouldn't say they take priority, but they are important. This one, it's much more about that in terms of, I mean, if we dominate the game and basically every player looks good, and then we lose somehow 1-0 or 2-1 to a goalkeeper mistake or whatever from Matt Turner, fine. We already know what he's going to give us in that aspect. But if we get dominated and lose, that's a real issue. Or even if we get dominated and win, that's not what I want to see. I'm going to go for a 3-1 USA, which is kind of, maybe it's a crazy take considering what happened over the summer, but I really think that Poch has changed the team for the better, and I mean, I really hope I'm right about that.
Yeah, I'll just throw in one slight disagreement I have with you. I think I mentioned on the preview on the roster. I know it should be about the performance, but for me, I want to see 2 wins. I think that regardless, we need to start building a winning culture. Obviously, the performance is the most important thing. But I'll be honest, in my eyes, I think a win is just as important at this point, even though it's a friendly. I think we need to get some of that pride back and show the fight and give these guys belief because I think we're so vulnerable mentality wise. So I would like to see some results right away. I know it's a tough ask, but that's why you have a world class manager like Poch at the helm. I'm going to pick a 2-0 US win. And I don't know about the goal scorers, man. I would just pick Pulisic twice, honestly. And I would like to leave up to you guys now, the viewers. Let us know what you think about this camp. Obviously, we're going to be watching it. Brandon's going to be at the game. Comment, send us a tweet if you are there by any chance, and he'll be there repping the channel. And hopefully, the USMNT gets back on track if we were ever on track. So hopefully, he puts us on track. So thank you so much for watching us. Leave a like right here, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.